Experience leveling is the best kind of leveling in Dungeons & Dragons and is the only one you should ever use because Milestone sucks and it's only for people that are bad at math. That is the stance that I'm taking in this video, whether I believe it or not right now, because I want to talk about the pros and cons of this system, and the people that actually use it could maybe learn and get some stuff from and add new ways to do it. And the people who are super adverse to this and don't like all the numbers and math of it, I have easy tweaks and homebrews for both sides. And just like in my previous video on Milestone experience that I released like 2 weeks ago, you're gonna have to insight check me to see which method I actually believe, and stay tuned for that third video where I show a hybrid approach. But I wanted to make both of these videos separate and standalone and take the full stance of Milestone and the full stance of experience gain so you get the big picture of both, because I have ran both and love both, and that's why I probably even created the third method. All right, so I have 5 huge reasons why experience is the best method and a whole bunch of DM tips on how you could run this for yourself. Experience leveling is
Timeout.
If you like this concept of taking parts of your game and ways that you do stuff and adding a little bit of tweaks to it, nothing crazy, just a little bit of tweaks to the parts of your game that you feel like you want to tweak or just enhance or make better. You might not even know that there's a better way to do it because you haven't thought of it yet. And if you want to start thinking about stuff like that and get some sparks of creativity towards adding upgrades to your game, check out Alkander's Almanac of all things. It is my Kickstarter book that I just launched. It is now official and available and everything. It's a full expansion to 5th edition. Alkander's Almanac transcends the whole game and looks at the big picture of combat, social encounters, exploration, how you run games like actual experience method. All this experience stuff is also in Alkander's Almanac. This is basically a Dungeon Master's Guide and Player's Handbook in one, and an expansion to the core parts of the game. And each of the 9 chapters separates that all clearly into different categories. You have an entire chapter on mass combat, an entire chapter on inspiration, and then of course you have the 3 pillars: combat, social, and exploration. There's so much I can't even go into it all. I have videos on Alkander's Almanac if you want to dive into it more, and if you want to pick it up yourself, links down in the description. The first reason why experience leveling is the best leveling is it's absolutely fair. And I mean fair from the player's perspective, because you crunch numbers and did calculations to be able to see what they got from their experience, and it just feels like even if you made up some numbers, even if you homebrewed whatever type of where you're getting these numbers from, it's still more fair feeling to the players because you did calculations and then gave them experience. Which directly ties into the second point, that you're not going to have your players on your backs asking you, when are we leveling up? Are we leveled up yet? Did we level up yet? Did we level up? It is very clear cut when you level up, because you have experience that you get and you keep getting experience and then you level up. Another side thought that I just thought to this whole thing is this kind of like video games. If you have players that are very comfortable and come from video game backgrounds, and leveling up is a big pillar of that type of thing, this also feels, getting experience that could feel good too. So with those first 2 points, you can really wash your hands clean, sit back, give them experience, calculate it, give it to them. They'll level up when they level up. It's not your fault. Or is it? Because there's lots of stuff you can do with experience method too as a dungeon master. The third and fourth reasons why experience leveling is the best leveling are kind of connected together. The third point is this feeling of constant progression and improving towards something. Like they know that they are getting experience and they are collecting it and they're in a better spot than they were. Sometimes there might be a section in your game where it feels like things are stagnant, or you don't know when you're going to level up first, or if they're really looking forward to 5th level and they're 4th level right now, after a session, they're closer. With Milestone experience, you might feel like you're closer and you don't know if you've accomplished that goal yet, and it doesn't happen. It all happens 4, 5, all in one moment. This feels like it's definitely more of a journey. And reason number 4 connects to that. Every time they take steps in this journey, you have to give them experience, and you are giving them extra rewards. So there's multiple instances of giving them rewards instead of one big moment of you're level 4. Okay, here's level 5. That's one big moment of a reward you gave your players with, instead of multiple sessions of giving experience out, and then that experience turns into a level, which is a reward. So it's more present. And a bonus tip onto that is experience leveling. The act of handing out experience is incentivizing towards your players. You can give them experience for lots of different things. Timeout. Huge disclaimer here. When using experience leveling in Dungeons & Dragons, giving out experience, do not only give experience for combat and killing monsters, or you are literally creating murder hobos because they just want to kill stuff, and it turns it really into a video game where they're like, oh, we're not high enough level, we need to go farm boars in the forest. And that also would de-incentivize them from ever having a combat solution be not killing them or outthinking them, outsmarting them, outmaneuvering them. Because trust me, if I have a combat encounter that's worth 5,000 experience and they completely avoid it and come up with a great solution of how to sneak straight through it or whatever, they get 5,000 experience, maybe even 6,000 for thinking outside the box and beating me at my own game. And make sure you make this known to your players. They have to know that they get experience for things like downtime or social interactions, exploration. They solve a puzzle, experience experience. Now, how do you do that? How do you reward experience for non-combat things? I got you. Stay with me. Okay, so before we get into how we actually can issue out experience for things other than combat or for combat itself, the fifth tip here is math is fun. Now, sadly, I have to laugh there. I was a math teacher for 11 years, and the overall stipulation and reputation of math is that everyone hates math. Because in my professional opinion, I think it usually just comes from people not having heard the right stuff yet. Because yes, calculations can get confusing and all this kind of stuff, and I can't tell you how many students have came to me saying how hard and confusing something was. I'm like, oh, it's just this way. Oh, that's it? Oh, it's actually not that bad. So the same thing is true here with experience games. So overall, is tip 5 math is fun? No, tip 5 is really, if math is fun for you, then it is kind of fun. For myself, I love crunching the numbers and seeing what the experience is going to be. There is an actual, like an accounting, weird D&D math funness to it. And just in case, I'm packaging this together, just in case you don't think math is fun, I also have a different way for you to calculate it that's not even really calculating at all. Because yes, the calculations in order to calculate full-blown experience rules as written do take a lot of math and calculations and adding and multiplying and stuff like that, but it's really not that bad. But just in case you think it is, I have a super simple solution that we're going to get into. And what I'm about to show you here also pairs up perfectly with how to reward experience to things that aren't combat, right? So stay with me here. I'm going to show you some experience thresholds and how you can easily use them to give experience to your players. Quick disclaimer here for all the charts I'm about to show you. I don't actually calculate what a monster's worth and times it by all that stuff. You don't have to do all of that. There's a much easier method that I'm gonna get to at the end of all these charts. So stay with me through this little math gauntlet here. You got this. Because I myself actually don't use the challenge rating system and all that kind of stuff, and there's a whole better way to do it. Okay, here we go. This chart is your best friend. Encounter difficulty, easy, medium, hard, and deadly. This is the experience threshold by character level. Here we go. There's the full picture of it. You can get a screenshot of that. It's also on D&D Beyond. You can also search it up. There's all the names for it. But a single first level character, 25 is the experience difficulty threshold. So if you have a monster worth a 25 experience for a first level character, that would be easy, because each monster in Dungeons and Dragons is worth a certain amount of experience based on their challenge rating, all that other kind of stuff. Again, stay with me. Don't worry. Don't run away yet from the math. So first level character, a deadly encounter would be in a monster worth 100 experience. Oh no. There's the basics, but here's how I actually use this. Let's say I have a group of 4 players and they are 5th level. Okay, so 4 5th level players. An easy encounter for 4 of them would be 250, 250, 250, 250. Times 4, that's 1,000, right? You see what I'm saying? 250 times 4, they together, an easy difficulty experience threshold for them is 1,000. Scale that up to 500, and we have 500 times 4, or 2,000 would be a medium difficulty experience. Or you can go to this RPG calculator if the math in that moment just then multiplying times 4 and stuff. If that was too much, I have this calculator for you, and it's honestly a really easy thing to do. You can just bookmark it. This link to this will be down in the description as well. It is a very simple calculator. There's that one character at level 1, 25, 50, 75, 100. It's the same thing I just showed you. So if I have number of characters is 4 and their level is 5, calculate, there's those same numbers: 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,500, 4,400. But what do you actually do once you calculate and get these experience thresholds? Okay, so now that we have these 4 thresholds, what can we actually do with them? We can do no math at all anymore. And the nice thing is, as soon as your characters level up, you recalculate those numbers and they stay that way for that entire level. If you add in another player member, I guess it might change, but in general, you're gonna have the same number of players. When they level up, you get those same 4 numbers of easy, medium, hard, and deadly, calculate them, and you have that for the entire level until they level up again. And even if you don't use this how it's intended, because you're supposed to calculate this number, and then that's your budget for using monsters and calculating for what it's gonna be and all that kind of stuff, there's a different way to use it. So once you have these 4 thresholds, you can just assign it for combat instead. So if you don't want to use the CR system, you don't want to use experience calculations and crunching at all, let's just say these are your 4 numbers. So we're going to say, I'm about to have a combat. I want to use a very experience light method of this whole system. So cool, I homebrew up an encounter. It's a medium difficulty that I kind of assign it to, and that's just an estimation based on I'm just homebrewing, I'm just creating stuff. It was a medium encounter. They get 2,000 experience. And if it was a little bit hard and I really want to challenge and push them, it's a boss fight. If they had a boss fight, if 4 level 5 players had a boss fight, and the calculations from that chart we had, it says 4,400 at the end of the boss fight, give them 4,400. Or you can round up, give them 5,000. Or you could round down, give them 4,000. It's a number that you can fluctuate and change, but at least these 4 numbers that you calculate give you a reference point of where to go from. And these 4 numbers that you calculate are easily given out to beating social encounters. Let's say there's a kingdom and you need to persuade the king. How hard would that be? Well, you have 4 numbers here. Easy, medium, hard, and deadly. Now, I know a social encounter with a king might not be deadly, or is it? But those are 4 thresholds there for if it's a really hard thing to be able to persuade the king and they actually do it. Oh my gosh, that's 4,400 experience. Give it to them. If they barely survive a trap puzzle that they were able to figure out and explore through the ruins and they survived a deadly trap, that's 4,400 experience. Or what if it's a simple, they traveled from point A to B, there was a little bit of they got lost and then they find their way. That's 1,000 experience. That's easy. These 4 thresholds of experience you can give out as the method that you do experience. You don't have to do a ton of calculations. If you wanted to run experience and just try it out, you can easily have these 4 numbers, calculate them, and then hand them out based on the difficulty of whatever it is they're doing. And these numbers give you a reference point to come up with those numbers. Can't decide between medium and hard? Give them 2,500 right in the middle. There you go. I'm proud of you for getting through the math gauntlet here, unless you're not here and you clicked off the video whenever I started talking about math. Maybe this video is a bad idea. Oh well, I want to share these experience tips with you guys, and I have a ton more of these tips explained in Alkander's Almanac of all things, because there's a lot more I could get into, which actually is going to bring me to that third method of the video. What do you believe is better, milestone or experience? And are you interested in this third method that I am going to be making a video on here very soon, of my favorite method? I love the crunching and grinding of these calculations, and I do love all the perks that I talked about in the milestone video. There is a blend of both of them. But all of this is in chapter 1 of Alkander's Almanac of all things, and this is the deep dive into that, and there's so much more to deep dive into. I'm going to be doing different videos on Alkander's Almanac, diving into that little world and giving some behind the scenes of all that stuff. But what is your favorite method of experience? Do you have little tips and tricks? Because there's a lot of other stuff I'm going to talk about in the next video about players of different levels and players leveling at different rates. That's crazy. So if you want to get crazy, check out the link down in the description for Alkander's Almanac of all things. Until next time, stay creative, think outside the box. Peace.